Hi, I'm doing another video. Today I'm going to make some pin badges. The only type of pin badge I've made before in the same way was for a friend, and there's a little Sonic pin. It's the only time I've made a pin badge out of air drying clay, and it worked, so I want to do it again and I want to do more. I didn't really know what kind of designs I wanted to do, so I did some sketches, and then I filled in those sketches with some watercolour paints, and then I had a general idea of what I wanted to make. So then I used some air drying clay. I believe it was Hobbycraft's own brand of white air drying clay, and I just used a normal scalpel and a few clay tools that I bought in a little pack. So I started out by rolling out a slab of clay and cutting out the general shapes that I wanted, and then I smoothed those over with my watercolour brush. I'd cut out smaller pieces if I was adding some texture. Some pieces I built up just from tearing parts off and seeing what I could make. The second cloud that I did that way, but in the end it wasn't strong enough and it broke. The same as the pumpkin piece, that ended up being too thin as well, where I'd dug in too far, and that one also broke. You'll see that later on. And I carved into some of the pieces to give it some depth and some dimension, some texture. I didn't want them to just be flat pins that relied on painting to make them come alive, because I wasn't sure how well the painting would go since I hadn't really done this much before. I left them to dry overnight, and they still weren't quite dry in the morning, so I turned them over, let the other side dry for a little bit, and then painted on them using acrylic craft paints. I didn't use my normal acrylics because they're quite thick and they dry quite quickly, but the craft paints, they're quite thin, so they do need layering up, but they work quite nicely around the textures. I painted some block colours onto them first, just the general colours for each thing, and then I went back over and added other little parts. I didn't go into too much detail with them, and for me they were a fun project, so I didn't really want to go too deep into it. And then once I'd painted the front and the back, I covered them in Mod Podge. The one I use is meant to be a matte one, but I still feel like they do come across a little bit shiny. Definitely not as much as the gloss, but still does have a shine to it. But that's fine for this, I don't really mind it. These pins ended up being quite big. As I was making them, I just got carried away with what I was making rather than them being pins. So a lot of them are quite chunky. I ended up putting 2 pin backs onto the larger egg. If I was to do them again, there's probably things I would do differently, like make them smaller, think longer maybe about the designs and how they'd work as a pin, rather than just drawing something and thinking, yeah, that looks cute, and making it a pin, because that's not always how it works. You have to design specifically for the thing you're making. as my first piece for this, I'd say it went okay. This video isn't as long as the last one, thankfully, so less to stick with, but it was more of a fun, simpler project than the last one. I enjoyed the last one, but it wasn't simple. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know what my next one's gonna be, but it'll probably be up in about a week's time. Thank you for watching. Bye!